Hello everybody, welcome back to the show. We are making VR tutorials for Unity and Android. So if you want to make an application for your phone, or even probably Oculus Go now, this would be the best way to get started. So in this video, we are going to learn how to make a back button in VR. In the last video, we talked about how to make sure that we have a properly usable 2D button that will take us into VR, and then how to have a properly usable user interface in VR. But in this episode, we are going to do the reverse. We're going to make a VR button in VR that will take us back to 2D. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so here we have our scene, and what we want to do is we want to get back to our main menu. Alright, so what we're going to do first is come in here and we are going to make a new object. It's going to be a cube. And what shall we name it? We're going back to the menu. So let's call it Marty, like Marty McFly, because he went back to. Okay, so there's Marty. We're going to give him an arbitrary color real quick. Let's give him menu, because he's going to the menu. Alright, we'll push this over, push this back, okay, and slide it all the way over here. So, there we go. Okay, that looks like a button, you know, a VR button, a VR virtual button. Excellent, guys. Okay, come over here to your scripts folder. Okay, and we are going to create a very simple script to get us back to the main menu. Okay, so create C# script, and we call it return to the menu. Excellent. Alright, now, in order to be able to go back to the menu, because we are going to be changing scenes, we need to add a scene manager. So using Unity engine dot scene management. Boom. Okay. And down here, we are going to call that scene manager. Scene management manager. What do we want? Dot load scene. And what scene do we want? We want main menu. Main menu, because that is the name of the. Sorry, I hit the caps button. Main menu. All right, and don't forget our semicolon. All right, the main menu is the name of the scene that we want to go to, so hit Control S to save. We're going to come over here. We're going to take this return to Oz script, and we're going to drag it right on top of Marty. Boom. Let's look at Marty. Obviously, the dragging is just not strong with us today. Okay, now, here's our script. It does one thing. It sends us back to the menu. So, because it has been attached to Marty, it is now in play. So when we hit play, what do you think is going to happen? Boom, takes us right back to the menu. Okay, now, obviously, we don't want it to take us right back to the menu immediately. What we want it to do is we want it to take us back after a certain amount of time. We don't want to just, have this thing start off right away. So let's go ahead and uncheck it, all right? And what we're going to do is we're going to make an event trigger that will check to see whether or not we are looking at this object. So go down here to Add Component, Event Trigger, okay, add new event type. We're going to add two different types of events, one on pointer enter for when you're looking at it, and then one for pointer exit when you are not looking at it. So we have this script. The only thing that we can really do with this script, there's two things that we can do. We can use it to go to the main menu, and we can also turn it on and off. Okay, so let's turn it on and off. So right now, we can set it, if we put it under pointer enter to turn this thing on, as soon as we look at this object, it will take us to the VR or to the 2D menu. If we put it under pointer exit, we can look at this thing as long as we want, but as soon as we look away, it will take us to the 2D menu. So let's try that one real quick. All right, so we're going to do Marty. Why Marty? Because Marty has the Return to Oz script. Okay, we want to enable it. So check that box. And then that, when it happens, it will take this check and check this. Okay, so let's give it a shot. Okay, We're looking at the object, and when we look away, we should get a menu. Excellent, guys. Very good job. Okay, so that was the very, very, very basics of it. Now, what if we want this thing to change color so that we know that we're looking at it? Obviously, our reticle changes, but that's just, GVR. We want the actual color to change. That's one of the things that makes VR very interesting. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use this simple script called rose colored changes. And what it does is it gives you two different types of materials. So there's one material for when you aren't looking at something, and one material for when you are looking at something. There is a startup material, which is the same material as not looking, and then there are two little subroutines here for when you are watching it and when you aren't watching it. The subroutine for watching it loads the menu, or the subroutine for watching loads the material for watching, and the subroutine for not even looking loads the material for the no looky. Okay, so pretty basic stuff right there. We're going to take rose colored changes and put it on Marty. Okay, boom. Now we have two materials right here to fill, so let's go ahead and look in our materials. Right now the no looky is purple. It is that menu color. Boom. And then we're going to change it to other menu. Boom. Excellent. So let us see. Now, I will tell you one thing. If we were to try to run this right now, nothing's going to happen. Why? Don't we have a script? Yes, we do have a script. The script is a container. It basically just assigns materials to these variables. That's great. We do want that. However, we're going to need the event trigger to make things happen. So we're going to change what happens when we look inside of it. So we're going to take the object of Marty. Why Marty? Because he has the rose-colored changes script attached to him, and he is totally watching. You see that? Now, if he's not watching, what are we going to do? Well, let's go ahead and add a Marty, because we want to use Marty. Why? Because he has the rose-colored changes script, and now he's not even looking. Boom. Okay, so let's give this a shot and see if this will work. We hit play, and we look over here. We see our thing, and boom, it changed color, and then when we looked away, it, took us to our 2D menu. So let's try that again, just so we can get an idea. We're looking over here, it has changed color, and let's look over here, boom. So now you can see that it has changed to the other menu color, all right? And when we look away, you might for a second see it go back to this purple color, but what's going to also happen is it's going to enable our return to Oz script, which is going to send us to the other menu. So let's see what happens. Oh, it did turn purple just before it changed. Perfect. Okay, so that's great. Now, we can make our block take us somewhere, change colors, but now we want to try to make a little bit of a timer, so that way when we look at it, it gives us enough time to look away before we actually, go there. So let's go ahead and jump in. Boom. We're going to go to our return to Oz script, and we are going to create a float. And we're going to make it public so that we can keep an eye on it. And we want this to be, I know, Marty's license plate. Out of time. And we want it to be equal to 0, because we're going to start our counter at 0. Okay, so out of time is basically just our counter. Okay, now in our update, we want to go down to update, because the update is called once per frame, and using a timer with the frames seems to be the best way to go so far. So we want out of time, and we want to add the equivalent of time dot delta time. Okay, and that's going to happen once per frame. Now, when it gets to a certain point, obviously we're going to want it to load the menu. So we'll come down here and we'll give it an if statement. If out of time is greater than or equal to 1f, okay, then we want to do something. And that something is to open up another subroutine that will play the scene manager. Yes, we could put the scene manager down here. I've had issues with it before, so it always feels much cleaner and safer to give it its own subroutine. I don't know if that's best practices, but hey, whatever. Void, what do we want to call it? Go home already. 2 of these, 2 of those, and we want to take scene manager, load scene, main menu, grab that, Control X, come down here, Control V, all right, and now we can come here to our do something, and it will be go home already. There you go. And I think it also needs one of these. Okay, so that's what happens. It starts off as 0, but over time it grows till it gets to 1. And it doesn't just go 0 to 1, it goes 0, 0 0.1, 0.2, 0 0.3, blah, 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 all the way to 1. Okay, when it gets to 1 finally, it'll go home already. Yes, it'll load this little bit of code. So basically what we have done is we've used a timer to extrapolate this from the start. Okay, so let's go ahead and Control S to save. We're going to go back to our environment. We're going to look at Marty. We're going to look at his return to Oz. There we go, out of time. Okay, so we want to watch this number. Now, what's going to happen if we try this right now? Well, 2 things. 1, nothing's going to happen. It's just going to change the color. And then 2, when we look away, then it's going to start the timer, and 1 second later, it'll change us to the menu. We don't want that, but let's go ahead and make sure that that's what's going to happen. Okay, so we're going to look at it. It's going to change color. Then we look away, and the timer took a second and then moved us. Okay, good. All right, so how are we going to change that? Well, Marty, we need to enable this when we look at it. Okay, that's the key there. So Marty has something to do. What does Marty have to do? He has to use his return to Oz enabled. So we're going to enable this one, and we're going to disable this one, because if he looks away during that time, we want the script to stop. Okay, so we're going to take a look at this number right here now. Okay, and we're going to also check to see whether or not this gets turned on immediately. Okay, so let's run this test real quick. I'm going to look over here and look at that color. Oh, yes. All right, so did you see those numbers building over there? Okay, so if we happen to look away halfway before those numbers finish climbing, okay, we can see that they've stopped, but they haven't gone back to 0. We need a way to go back to 0. So let's go ahead and jump back into our script real quick. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a public void. So public void resetinator. Okay, and what do we want it to do? We want it to take our value here, our out of time. So out of time equals 0f. Boom. Okay, and clean that up a little bit because I'm weird like that. Control S to save, and we will go back here. Now, why did we make it public? And why wouldn't it work if we went to hit this already? Well, because we need to use the event trigger. So right here under pointer exit, when we want it to reset, we gotta literally tell Marty, hey Marty, you need to use that return to Oz thing to reset. So it goes back to 0. Because we already turned it off, but we really do need it to reset itself too. So look at that 0. We're going to start this. We're going to come over here and look at it real brief. Boom. Okay, so you can see that it turned back to 0. It climbed and then went back and then went back. Awesome. Okay guys, so that is pretty cool. That's a nice little timer that we've got set up there, but we have no visual for it. Now, we could use this circle timer again, but that's not going to teach us anything. This might take a little bit of time, but I think it should be worth it because I don't feel like this would be complete without it. Okay, so let's use the most powerful tool known to man. It is Windows Paint. All right, so we are going to make a little time bar here. We're going to slide this little corner thing down till we get about there. We don't even care what size it is, really. I mean, it's, hey. Okay, like 400 by 40, something like that. Okay, we're going to make it blue, because I like blue. And we're going to hit File, Save As. We're going to call this the time bar. Okay, now we've got a time bar right here. We can go ahead and shut this down. We're going to go back into our environment, pull down, and drag over into our materials. Boom. Okay, now in order to be able to use this material, we need it to be a sprite. So click on it, come to Texture Type over in the inspector, and click on Sprite 2D and UI. Perfect. It has begun. Okay, so that's good. We're going to hit Apply. The Apply button is right down here, or you can click anywhere and it'll open this. Boom. Okay, good. So there we are. What we need to do now is we need to grab a hold of the canvas. So we're going to come over here and we are going to find the canvas, because if you remember in the last video we learned that the canvas actually has to be in real-time space. It's weird, but that's just the way it is. So here's our image that is the round radial device. So if we were to change its fill amount, look at this. Boom, we can see that it makes that red circle. That's perfect. That's cool. That's something like that that we want to do. I'm going to go ahead and rename this real quick to radial gaze timer. Boom. And we're going to click on canvas, right click in the empty space, and create a UI image. Okay? There's our image, and we're going to call this the menu time bar. Boom. All right. Now, the menu time bar, obviously, we want to use this. So we're going to drag this all the way over here to the sprite. There it is. And we're going to change its image type from simple to filled. Okay. Now, you're probably saying to yourself, that was a bar. I can see it's a bar right here. Why is it still a square? Well, if you click on Preserve Aspect, it changes the aspect ratio to be exactly the way it was. Perfect. Okay, so obviously this is going to be way too big. It's taking up the entire game screen down here, which is not good. So we're going to come over here, and because I've messed with these settings so many times, we're going to go 50-50 on these, and then we're going to go 0.01 on both of the X and Y here. Okay? Now we have our nice little bar. It's perfect. If we were to pull this slider, we can see that it's doing the radial. We don't want radial. We want to come here to the fill method, and we want it to be horizontal. So if we slide it now, we can see that it looks like a normal time bar. Excellent. If you wanted to add a background behind this, that's totally fine. I'm not going to do that for reasons of time, okay? But we have this. Let's go ahead and leave it down here just so that we can see it's still there, and jump back into our script. Okay, so let's go ahead and find a way to transform this thing. So public transform, and it's just the menu bar thing, okay? And we're going to get our semicolon. Now, the first thing we want to do is come down here, and we want to make sure that the menu bar is equivalent to out of time. So let's do this. Menu bar, boom, dot get component image. Okay? All right, so here is something I want you guys to see. We want image, but image is not one of the things that we can get. Why is that? It's because we are using the transformation of a UI element. So come down here, using Unity engine.ui, semicolon. Now, we'll go back here, back up, and I for image, boom, image, it's there. Okay, we're going to add 2 of these, a dot, and then fill amount. Okay, and we want that fill amount to be equal to whatever out of time is, or out of time. All right, boom. Okay, let's go ahead and copy that. The other place we're going to need it is right here under our update, so that every time out of time adds to its time, we make sure that the amount of time is going to affect the fill amount of the image attached to the menu bar. Okay? So boom. And the other place we are going to need it is right down here in our resetinator. So once out of time goes to 0, we definitely want it to pick up. So boom, menu bar dot get component image fill amount out of time. Okay, that's pretty good. Control S to save. Come back to our environment. Click on Mati. And here we go. Come on. There we go. Menu bar. Now, we're going to take this menu time bar right here that we put inside the canvas, and we're going to drag it over here because this is the public transform. When you make things public, it makes it available in this area right here. If we hadn't have made out of time public right here, we would not have been able to see it right here. So I'm not going to mess with that, but that's why you make things public, is so that you can see them over here, so that you can test things properly. All right, now we want to take our menu time bar and put it inside of this menu bar. So the menu bar is the menu bar. Which menu bar? That menu bar. Excellent. Okay, now, hopefully this works. Let's go ahead and hit play. All right. All right, you see that? All right, it's working. Last thing, of course, that we'll need to do is come over here to our menu time bar. And we left a little bit of it just so that we can make sure that it was still there, because, I mean, when you get rid of it, you can't see it, you don't know what's there. So we are going to make sure that our fill amount on this always starts off at 0. So we're going to hit play again. We're going to look over at that object. All right, so it worked. Okay, the last thing we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and build this. So go to build settings, make sure that all your things are properly in there, and hit build. And you got to make sure that your phone obviously is plugged in and set to USB options, or yeah, USB transfer. Okay, so build. Now we're going to call this back to the menu. Okay. It is detecting current SDK build tools version. Excellent. Okay, so I've got my camera set up to be able to work here. So let's go ahead and activate the camera, and it will focus on my phone. Okay, I think that worked. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the background. Okay, so there we are, just focusing on my camera, or on my phone. Open that up. We've obviously got a test here going on, which is fine, but here we go. Building target package from assets archive done. All right, now it's loading up. I said it's loading up. Come on. Boom. Okay, so it's upside down. Here, hold on. All right, play VR experience. It fills up, takes us back here. Click on it again. Excellent. So we can go back and forth as many times as we like. Sorry. All right. Okay, so I guess that is pretty much it for this episode. I wanted to say thank you guys for watching this. It has been, it's been a lot of fun making these, and I think I would really like to make more of them. So if you guys are interested, definitely leave a comment and subscribe and like and all that good stuff. But don't forget to ring the bell because we do this kind of stuff all the time. And I am definitely looking forward to the next one. So keep the ideas coming. Every video I've been making is usually based off of somebody trying to figure out how to do something. Check your scripts, make sure everything's working fine. I have heard that some people say that the the menu, when they go back to the 2D menu and then back into VR, that it doesn't work. So if you can try to narrow that down, let me know what it is, and we will work on a solution for it. All right, guys. I guess that's it. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.